We'd like to welcome John Sand, Director of Curriculum and Assessment, our CVUSD Assistant Superintendent of Instruction, Bob Yatesa, our CVUSD Superintendent, Dr. Jeff Barstadt, our school board members, Dr. Tim Stevens, Dr. Betsy Connolly, and Mrs. Peggy Buckles. We do have 4 presenters this evening that want to talk to you about Coach Hurley, our former CVUSD Director of Secondary Education and Newbury Park High School Principal, Max Beeman, our former Athletic Coordinator and longtime teacher in the Conejo Valley, Jim O'Brien, our current head football coach and teacher at Newbury Park High School, Mr. Gary Fabricas, and Newbury Park's High School Principal, Mrs. Ethel Wong. Without further ado, I'm going to hand this off to Mr. Max Beeman.
Thanks, Jason. I think when Jason says former, he really means old. Good evening, I'm Max Beeman, former principal at Newbury Park High School from 1996 through 2006. During my 10-year tenure, I had the good fortune to work with an outstanding and dedicated professional educator, Mr. George Hurley. Prior to coming to NP, I served as principal at Sequoia Intermediate School. During that time, it became quite obvious to me that Mr. Hurley was one of the outstanding leaders of the Newbury Park High School teaching staff. Many of you may not know this, but Mr. Hurley worked tirelessly along with Mrs. Marcine Solares and Mr. Chuck Eklund, principal, to win approval from the community and the Board of Education to implement our very innovative and highly successful block schedule. This is a testimony to respect for Mr. Hurley and what he had earned from the faculty and staff, as well as the credibility Mr. Hurley had with the Newbury Park community. Thank you for your outstanding leadership in this effort and so many other ways on campus and in our community. When I came to NP as a first-year high school principal, I had not been in high school for 25 years since I was a student teacher. I could have not had a better coach and mentor than George Hurley to teach me about athletics. I never realized the pressure and scrutiny that high school coaches endure. Coach Hurley always handled it with great professionalism and grace. The few controversial issues that arose were addressed immediately and effectively by Coach Hurley and barely reached my desk. You know, when I started here, there was about 1,450 kids. And we were playing against schools that had much higher enrollments. Today, we have an enrollment of 2,500 or better. But we were playing schools that size then. Westlake and TL were that good. Coach Hurley and his athletes never complained. They loved the challenge and had many successful outings against our district rivals. The most memorable characteristic for me of all Coach Hurley teams was that they never gave up. Perseverance is a wonderful quality that Coach Hurley taught. I thank Coach Hurley and the wonderful student athletes who represented Newbury Park High School for providing the community with decades of Friday night entertainment each fall. As I used to say, Newbury Park High School was the best kept secret in Southern California. By the time I left, Newbury Park could no longer say that, in part because Coach Hurley's teams helped put NP on the map. I want to thank you and congratulate you for 37 years of dedication and caring for our students, not only in the classroom and on the field, but in our community. George, on a personal note, I could not be more pleased we receive this very well-deserved honor, and this field will be forever named George Hurley Field at Panther Stadium. Congratulations.
Good evening, Panthers. It's nice to be back and to have an honor to speak with you about George Hurley. We have a lot in common besides age. Both George and I are old offensive linemen. We both sent our children to Newbury Park High. We both come from small, undistinguished towns.
We both spent 40 years or so in public education as teachers, coaches, and athletic coordinators. Neither of us ever dated Jenny Craig or a prom queen. We both have a tattoo of Fifi the surfing dolphin on our left buttock. And we both have very, very fond memories of Newbury Park. I was thinking about the tributes that our society makes. I was struck with how often we acknowledge people for their military service. There are plenty of statues and parks of generals on horseback. Plenty of buildings named after business magnates, and lots of facilities titled after folks who made large contributions financially. But not so tonight. Not here at Newbury Park. Tonight we name a field after a wonderful human being who always put others first, who was always ready to do the necessary jobs that rarely get acknowledged, a man who chose to do the right thing rather than the expedient thing that would secure momentary, sometimes ephemeral notice while ignoring the long-range effect of his actions. George passed my, will I want this person to coach my children and grandchildren test? George was a coach for and with the kids in black and gold, rarely seeking any personal notoriety, but rather letting the Panthers take credit. In short, George Hurley is a man of integrity. As a culture, we tend to measure things by whether we can number and columnize achievement. It's easy, and we fall for it practically every time. However, not only is it simple and often erroneous, not only does it lead us to a place where the value of doing something is often determined by whether we can measure it or not, it is also soul-stripping and ignorant of what makes us higher beings. We need to acknowledge those multitudes of people who are wonderfully good people, like George Hurley. It is a sign of his goodness and the goodness of Newbury Park that we name this field in our community George Hurley Field. And so, to you, George, for all that you have done for my sons, Newbury Park High School, and this community, let me borrow an Irish toast. May those who love us, and those who don't, may God turn their heads. And if he can't turn their heads, may he turn their ankles, so we'll know them by their limping. Thanks for everything, George. I have the honor of just representing all the coaches that he's given an opportunity to coach at Newbury Park. And on their behalf, I just want to thank him for the opportunity to build a relationship with all these players and ex-players. And I know my wife, Sloan, would like to thank on behalf of the family. As our families grew, he still allowed us in our grueling schedule to sneak away and help raise our family, and for that we appreciate it. Thank you for everything. I'm just honored to be a part of it. Oh, there's Noah. Noah! We'll roast them later.
Coach Hurley, on behalf of Newbury Park High School and all of its past, present, and future students, I thank you for being the person that you are. You are the one who personifies our mission statement to help all of our students develop 4 important qualities: nobility, potential, humanity, and scholarship. You were instrumental in developing the traditions and attitudes that have become our school's culture, and you're some of the reason that Newbury Park High School enjoys such a wonderful reputation in the community. The level of dedication you demonstrated for our students and this place has become a goal for those who follow in your footsteps. I am honored to present you this plaque, a duplicate of which will be permanently mounted here in the stadium, proclaiming the field that where you spent so much time teaching student athletes as George Hurley Field. And for those of you in the cheap seats, I'll read the small print. George Hurley served over 40 years at Newbury Park High School as a teacher, coach, and mentor, teaching math, coaching wrestling, coaching the Newbury Park High School Panther football team, including 19 years as head coach. Career achievements include a school record 130 victories, 6 Marmani League championships, 4 section semifinals, 2 CIF finals, and in 1993, a 14-0 season and CIF Southern Section Championship. More important, Coach Hurley touched countless lives and helped many students and athletes learn that honor and fair play are more important than winning scores. Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone. I'm honored and humbled to be out here tonight on this field where I spent many years. My children, Aaron and Ethan, ran youth track here in the 1970s. Aaron played soccer on the soccer team. Ethan ran track, played football in that kickball game in the 1980s. My son Ryan played football here in the 1990s and track, shot put, discus. He's still coaching here. I'm honored to have my brother from Fresno come down with his family, Ryan and his fiance and their families are here. This is indeed a great night. I have so many people to thank. This game might be postponed till Monday, but I have to thank all the people who had kind words, and the school administration people and the district administration people, and I'm very proud to represent this. I was counting the other day, probably about, I think I gave up counting at about 50 gentlemen that I got to coach with. I was very proud of them. I was very happy to deal with hundreds of booth club people, including the Cats group who helped put this stadium together in this field. And people have asked me several times, what's the most important thing you ever did? What is the highlight of your career? There they are right there. All the kids have played for me. About 1,500 of them the last time I counted, including those knuckleheads over there in the corner that we're working with now. A terrific bunch of people, and I'm really proud to accept this honor on behalf of the coaches I work with. I'm particularly proud of the people who played here, went on to college and some pros, and came back to contribute again. Joe Smigel, Keith Smith, Will Sorey, Foley, Anthony Foley, so many people that have gone off and come back had a good experience and want to share that experience with something. And it's really a neat experience. I can't imagine this ever happening. By the way, I would trade that for a victory tonight. Particularly thank Kevin Keeney for allowing me to coach with him, another alumni person. And let's get on with the thing we came to see here. Let's play a football game and see what comes up. Thank you all very much. I'm very pleased. Thank you so much.